Recorded.
Yep. All right. Well, this is a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners for February the 8th, 2021. Prior to an executive session, looks like we have two items on the agenda tonight. River Hills EDC grants and applications. So, is that you, Melissa? Or
That's exactly both of us.
Or is that both of you? All right, what you got?
Okay.
First, just real quick on the income survey, and Mr. Julian, this was approved back in December. It was before you were here, but we're going to go ahead and just present it again, okay. Just to make sure, because I didn't have a contract when it was approved. So it's for the income survey, countywide. The total cost is $1,240. That allows you up to 120 mailings. That's about 3 waves of mailings. I'll let you know, we are currently doing an income survey for the city of Scottsburg, and the return rate on mailings right now for income surveys, it's just tough to get people to. So we may be coming back to you for an amendment to the contract if we can't get the information we need, all the surveys that we need with the mailings that are included. Just to let you know, we'll come back before we would.
So you're having trouble people just return the survey?
Filling them out and returning them, and they get a stamped envelope. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do it either.
I know. It's you know.
The best way to get responses is to knock on their door.
Yeah.
But that's
Right
man
now,
hours and that stuff.
Yeah, that's tough. So just kind of let you know, the price for this could go up, but it's just going to be you paying for additional mailings. If we need them.
How many do you have to complete the survey?
Just 40.
40? So 40 out of 120?
Yeah. Right now, with the cities that I'm doing, I'm getting about a 20% return rate.
Could we do something on a radio ad telling people, hey, you know, we're sending, the county government sending out a survey, would you please, if you receive one, please, would you fill it out and send us a stamped envelope back? I mean,
We could do it.
Could we, is Marty here?
We could put it on the county website and then tell Wimby.
And we have certain language you have to use because there's certain things you can't say. So I can work with Tammy and Marty on.
Yeah, we need to get something in the paper so that people know it's legit. Because right now, and I'll be honest, I mean, with all these scams going on, a lot of people won't do it. I mean, and a lot of people won't do it anyway, but a lot of people.
Right.
But if they knew that, hey, this is an official from the county, so maybe we can work with those two.
I'll be glad to.
Okay, we'll work together on that. And Tammy did get me the list of residents for the county, so we'll be starting that.
So you have 120.
Well, we have a full list. I have to randomize it, all that fun stuff. So.
It's like a lottery.
Yeah, right,
Who's
exactly.
gonna win?
It's a process for sure. So the total amount of the contract is $1,240 if you would like to act on that. And then I have 2 originals here to be signed by President Jones and Tammy, if approved.
Motion to set or pay the bill.
Well, it's just the contract, actually.
Yeah, it's, to ratify the contract and.
What do you think, Wes?
I will tell you that I think you're getting a good deal on income surveys.
I reckon I'll make a motion.
Second. All right, I'll make that unanimous, so I'll sign this one.
It's a lot of work. All right, and then just secondly, and I didn't email you all last week when we had an answer from Ndot on the community crossings because I found out you were having this meeting and Nick's here too. So basically with what I explained to you all last week about our proposed contract with Ndot for the fiscal year 2021-22, we can include you all in our contract. You will not be mandated to use us if you have an alternative. Or if you don't have an alternative, it really doesn't matter. It just allows us or gives us permission to do that work through Ndot if we go ahead and.
What it does is it allows us to bill Ndot for the work instead of you all paying it. Ndot pays it. Obviously, when we're looking at the amount of work we're going to do, if you want us to do it, we would like to do it and not, propose that time and not use it, but if it doesn't, it doesn't,
So what you're saying is, because I asked last time what it was gonna cost, you're
Right.
saying that you're billing Ndot.
Yeah, so the way our contract works with them is it's an 80-20. They'll pay 80, local pays 20. Typically, that's in kind our work, because it's with us. If it's a very large amount of work, we might ask a county or a community to pitch in on that 20%. But the way it's looking right now, I don't foresee us needing to ask for any additional funding for the local match.
Okay, well, that answers my fee.
The only caveat to that is if you receive another community crossings grant, the administration on that, we might have like a small fee for that, because that would be beyond what we normally do.
I know, yes.
What we've been doing for the back end awarded community crossing grants is $4,500. I don't think it would be much different.
To administer the
Yeah,
grant.
to administer the grant and return it.
All right, well, at least I have
An idea. I mean, I honestly didn't know the answer, so I didn't want to throw a number
Well,
out last week.
And I appreciate that, I mean,
I knew it was minimal, but I didn't want to just throw a number out.
I mean, Brass, we can help provide some of these services if you need them or not,
Okay.
if you want to, and we can do it for basically no charge. I mean, I don't foresee us needing to charge the county for anything.
okay. Well, I didn't know, like I said, we always did it in-house, from the beginning of and then I know other people that are, get banged for $45,000 for people and I'm not saying you guys do, but other counties are getting charged $45,000 to write this grant for something they don't know if they're gonna get or not, and a lot of times they're not getting it.
And we're particularly talking about the community crossing,
That's
right?
Yes, so so that would be like, you have to have road ratings, an asset management plan, and then the application, and then you get your award or not. So we can help with all those parts of it, whoever you all end up getting to come in.
Well, and
whatever level they want us to help, or however they want us to
and that's
help.
where I'm getting at, is that we don't know who we're hiring.
Yeah,
And we may need assistance, and we may not need assistance, depending on who.
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
only thing, I would just say, we're basically free to do this work for
Okay,
you. So
well, and that's a positive.
to consider that.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good to me.
This is what Ndot wants us to do with this contract. They added this ability for us to do this for communities like a year or so ago, and this is where they want us to go with it.
If we hired somebody could do this, that still doesn't mean they couldn't still work together with you guys.
Yeah, if yes, exactly.
I mean, yeah,
Yes.
and make it, we don't wanna lose out on it, right?
Okay.
Is that all you have?
Well, I have something else real quick, but the asset management plan, I know I was trying to get a hold of someone. Does anybody know if there's any records at the highway department? It would be beneficial to Nick and what he needs to include in our proposal,
Yeah.
to include the current asset management plan.
I'm sure there is, but
There would have to be since you were
Yeah.
awarded.
and I will say this, and that's why I asked that question last week, is that I know she was working on a grant for 2021, even at the December meeting, because she was asking us, and she went to council and got approval to if we got it.
You are mad.
At that point, we didn't know if we were gonna get the last grant, which happened after that fact, but she needed to know before that to start working on the 2021 grant. So that grant's written, or all that information is together, so
Yeah.
I would say it'd be the same thing you're needing, so.
Yeah.
So, and I know I signed paperwork on, I don't know if anybody else did, because we may not have had to do it since we can't get back-to-back grants, so.
Yeah. Well, that's when you said you didn't think we'd be eligible for this one.
Yeah, well, and Nick is our expert in the office, Nick and Chelsea both, but what I can tell you was, you're exactly right, you were just funded in November, as I understand
Yes.
it. You would not have been able to go back in whatever this most recent deadline was. I don't know if the preparation was for the next time.
It was for this, it was for the first draw in 2021.
Okay.
Because she had heard that they weren't gonna stop it, that they were gonna continue it. She wanted to be ahead of the game, because the deadline was like somewhere in January.
Yeah, they're always a quick turn, yeah.
So she had it together, and so all that information that you're probably needing is accumulated right there, so.
And like you said, the money's already there from the council for,
For the second, for 2021,
Yeah.
I mean, they
For
said they
the
agreed to
match,
do it,
yeah.
yeah.
Should we reach out to Lori then in the office?
Yeah, she, actually, the last time I saw it was in a stack of papers, because I had to,
Okay,
I signed it, and, because I was leaving town. and-
Okay.
And, I know she's got it sitting
Okay.
there.
all right.
she's back to work.
I don't think so, yeah.
Okay, oh, that's right, okay. The only other thing I had was just kind of bringing up that local match thing on the COVID grant again. We haven't heard, have we, from the attorney? And I know I'm going to the council tomorrow just to have the submittal of the grant approved, but we'll need to know again by next, I think I said end of day next Wednesday, not this coming, but next, on where we're gonna get that local match from and how much.
I'll try to press on Karen again. I'm-
Okay.
I'm
I know you're
emailing
trying,
Lawrence,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to bring that up again since we're sitting here.
She might be having a hard time going through that one.
Yeah, yeah, so that's all I had, I know Nick has a thing.
I just have one more thing I wanted to update you all on, the Live Spring facility in Austin, that we're working on the closeout of that grant. We've come up with a little bit of an issue with the contractor. He's refusing to provide copies of his subcontractors' contracts. He is allowing access to them per the regulations that we included in his contract, which are federal construction provisions. It states that he has to allow access. The state, OCRA, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, they want copies. The regulation says access. He says access is not copies. So, we're kind of at a impasse there.
Why would he,
I have no idea why. I asked Okra if they've ever if they've dealt with this before, and they said no. I don't know why. He says they're proprietary. He says his contracts are proprietary. I said, I promise you, no one cares.
maybe paid them $1 and
Yeah.
Yeah,
profited the rest of it?
So
Or maybe he don't want them to know what he, how much he paid, or was paid.
Yeah, so we are kind of at a situation there, and without legal interpretation of what access means, I think that's where we'll be
So what's
at.
that do to us? Anything?
Well, this Okra says that we can't close the grant if we don't have copies. Now, previously, they would come out to offices and look through your files. When COVID struck, they do it all by computer now. So I'm gonna see where they'll lean or
So we
push.
need to get our legal involved?
We will probably, need at least an opinion. If the opinion comes down where the guy doesn't have to give us copies, then I don't know where that leaves us with the state. They're just gonna have to,
Well, I guess my
accept
question would be
that.
is if he's a contractor and he knows the requirements of Okra, then he should know, hey, I've got to present this, and if he doesn't, then.
I think what happened with it, he says he's had an Okra grant before, I've got contract with Okra money before, and I believe what happened was they were able to come to his office and look at them, and it was okay. But because of COVID, that's not an option right now. But, I'm kind of a little lost on how to handle this without a lawyer telling me what access means according to the provisions, or if he's bound to do it or not.
So if that doesn't happen, then we can't close the grant out.
That is the guidance I've received at this point. Now, I'm gonna try to reach out to the subcontractors and see if they'll provide me a copy of their contract and just go around them. There's 10 of them, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know where that will leave us with Okra. I did ask. and
But the
make sure-
general contractor is saying he's not providing it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to provide copies. I don't know if access means I can go to his office and take pictures of them. I don't know if that is.
Well, I'm sure Okra didn't walk in there and go, yeah, it looks right, and then
Right.
that guy gets hit by a car on the way home and
So-
nobody's still seen him.
Yeah, I did check. It won't affect application for the COVID funding. So we're kind of at a wait and see what's going to happen with it beyond
Well,
getting.
let us know if we need to get our legal involved.
Yeah,
Maybe we can bring him out of retirement.
but I wanted to update you all on that. Everything else with the closeout is going fine.
Okay. All right. Anybody got anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
All right, moving right along. Coroner's office.
All right, guys, thanks for having me.
You can kill the mask if you want to.
It's okay, I'll just keep it on. Been wearing it all day anyway. It keeps me breathing right. When I ran for the position and when I was elected, I thought we had an office in place. I thought we had a morgue in place. I thought we had, somewhere to store the bodies, that we might have to hold on to. Then once I was elected, I discovered that it was in the process, but not completed.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern is we have to make sure that our citizens and our taxpayers, when they pass, and we have to hold them, we want to make sure they're safe and secure for the families, and we don't have nothing, might go wrong with them. And I'm just wondering what the procedure is, or where the location might be. I know I've not made a lot of meetings, but I've had a rough time with the new drive system that Indiana's put in. And it's not just me, all the funeral directors and new coroners, even some older coroners are very upset about the drive system because it's having a hard time. So I'm just need an update on this here, and I think your last meeting I had some dental work done. Great dentist took care of me. But, how can I help you guys, work together? How could we, get this moving forward? And if there's anything I can do to help, I will do it. I'll paint, I'll sand, I'll nail, I'll drywall, whatever we need to do to get this done. If you want to, we can put it out the EMS building if you want to, that's fine. I'm open for anything.
Well, let me tell you where we're at, and
Okay.
I think you and I have had a few conversations, so let me tell you where we're at. Jerry Buchanan was the previous coroner, and Jerry called me on the phone January of last year and indicated that he was not he couldn't run again because he had already extended his 8 years to be the coroner, and that to his knowledge no other funeral director was going to run. So at that time I addressed it to the commissioners, I addressed it to the council saying, hey, you need to set aside monies, you need to understand that this is the first time in Scott County's history that we're going to have a situation at the coroner's office that we've never had. Previously to that, Kelly Robbins, Commissioner Robbins, had addressed it with the hospital to put a morgue out there. Since then, Kelly passed away. The CEO of the hospital is no longer there. And then I kind of picked it up and contacted a new CEO, which was the CEO of Park County Memorial Hospital, which he was overseeing them both at the time. He checked back into what Kelly had already worked on with Mike Everett, I'm sorry, and found all the paperwork and stuff. So we started that back up, working with the new CEO of the hospital, came up with an MOU last year. And let me explain again for people that does not understand why we're not on county property. I did meet with Jerry at the John Jones building, walked through the whole building. Jerry designated an area he thought would work for a standalone office, more. Kind of talked to a contractor. They gave a price per square foot of what it would cost to revamp that area. And got that price, kind of talked with some people at the council, and the council said we don't have that kind of money. So so that kind of nilched the plan of originally having it at the John Jones building. Since then, I went back to the hospital. We worked out a deal where they were going to give us 2 office areas to make one an office for the coroner, the other one being an area for the cooler, and also for the autopsies that be performed in. We've had contractors out there. We've had Jerry Buchanan out there. Jerry approved where everything was going to happen. We brought it back to the commissioners with the price of what it was going to cost to put it out there, and the council actually last year had already set aside money, somewhere around $9,000 some odd dollars for the equipment, the cooler, the cots, some other stuff, and so that was already bought in 2020. Since then, we've got a price for construction, start to finish, at the hospital of $27,000, I think $600, if I'm not, it's somewhere in that ballpark, for that to be a completed project there. So in turn, after that all happened, we found out that because it was a hospital and a directed over the state, they wanted a state permit. So in turn, we had to, I think, spend $4,500 more, or the bill increased to $4,500 for an engineer to make the drawings and to send to the state for the state permits. So at that point, that's where we're at. All in, somewhere less than $35,000. All in, less than $45,000 with all the equipment and stuff. So prior to this week, that ad ran for, Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, that ad has ran for 2 weeks now, hasn't it? For the money.
It just has to be advertised one time, 10 days prior to
Okay.
council.
So that's already ran through the local paper, well, I'll say local paper, Crowsville Times, stating that we're asking for monies from the council for this project. So, so that's where we're at. Last meeting, or actually the previous meeting, not this last meeting, the last January meeting, well, let me back up a second. 2020, John, myself, and Commissioner Tobias voted to go to go with the hospital as the morgue. This board, Randy included, voted not this past meeting, the meeting prior, to send that to the council for their approval for the money. So I think that's pretty much
it's been
up the
voted
board.
on.
So
Okay.
it's been advertised, it's been voted on, there's an MOU that's been voted on, an agreement with the hospital about where it was going to be, what it was going to be. You're going to have 24/365 access. They're going to give you a badge. They're going to give EMS access as well. And like I said, they've been more than, there's no additional fees or cost once we're in the building. So I know last week Johnny and Randy brought another plan to go back to the John Jones building, and I don't know where we're at with that as far as, finding out from the state whether the state, will, I guess, not change or not require us to follow state guidelines to build this or state code or whatever. So I don't know where we're at with that. So that's why we're having this meeting here.
Now, I did a little research myself, like you guys do, and I think we'd have to, yeah, if we went out there, we'd have to get a hold of Mr. Grimes and his engineering firm, pay all the permits. Have to pay local permits too, to the local hospital, or local Scottsburg. The MOU seems fine, everything there is fine, and everybody I've talked to, not everybody, but the hospital seems like the best place we can go. I talked to our attorney today about it, Mr. Houston, talked to him and asked about what my concerns was, and I was concerned about the MOU itself, how much that's gonna cover us as far as what we're gonna do out there. And in the MOU, if I look at the MOU, it basically says this is basically just an understanding, it's not anything legal we all have to hold to. So I was asking questions, and I was talking about a contract, and who's gonna do the maintenance on our equipment out there, we gotta do it, the hospital do it, utilities. Bob Houston says the utilities, you can't separate those two offices from the hospital, but that doesn't mean they couldn't say we're gonna charge you $100 a month or something.
Sure.
So, and I was concerned also, the questions that came up to me was, what happens if the hospital fails, or whatever, close down, whatever reason you may wanna make up. Does that MOU move us to the next ownership? And he says, Bob tells me, no, it doesn't.
I probably wouldn't.
He said, and my concern is I even said, well, we get to keep our cooler, don't you? And he says, no, the cooler would go too. And he said, but there is a way to move around everything. It's quite simply get us a contract saying that this is where we're gonna be. The MOU covers a lot of things, but I don't wanna see hidden fees pop up that we're not aware of now.
Sure.
There could be anything from maintenance fees. I want to make sure they're going to pay the utilities, or they're going to ask us to pay something. As far as the John Jones goes, we've hammered that out quite a bit. I'm still not too sure it's not an alternative, but it's just too late. Now, the only problem with doing a contract to supplement the MOU, after I talked to Bob, was he said he would write it up for us. But he says, then we have to have the hospital sign the thing. So we're talking a minimum 2 weeks to get us all on a contract. And so that's gonna, and while we're doing that, we have this price set up for $27,000, $30,000, whatever it is. And the longer we wait, those fees can go up.
Yeah.
So we're just not in a good position here, but and my vote, from everything I've heard so far, is gonna be go to the hospital. But I want the contract before we do that.
Well, the MOU was presented to our council, and he said, you know, and I understand the thing about the cooler, but he said he thought it was a good good MOU at the time. Now, granted, you asked him a question that I guess about, you know, if the hospital sells or we decide to leave, the hospital could say we could keep it. I would hate to think that a hospital sitting in Scott County is going to not be a good player with the county government. And I'm not saying the next people might not be and don't care. But, you know, everybody that I've talked to, and I'm not saying everybody's just as good as their word, but I mean, it's not their equipment. They know it's not their equipment. And
well, Bob said the MOU is good. He said we can proceed with it, but
down the road, you want
it's
something
a
that's
little
ironed
bit-
out.
To me, it's the trust but verify thing.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that. I get that.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going with this, but I want a contract.
I would like to throw out a couple of questions, because, yeah, I'm kind of coming from behind on this thing, okay? But the concerns that I have is I know like the state board account would not like the idea of us putting money into somebody else's building. So, and I know there's, you know, I guess you've got a plan to work around that. But the thing that worries me in the future, well, two things, is one, how do we grow there? And, you know, unfortunately, I've worked back since you've been around this. There's been times it's been more than three that you have to have room for. So, you know, in the future, we may have to add more. And maybe this thing's more modular. I have no idea how to say it. All right, so that's one. And the second thing that I'm concerned about is there grants that ever comes with this? Because if there is, then are you kicking yourselves out of the grant system because it's not our building?
What would you need a grant for the corner?
Well, maybe in order to get more coolers, in order to grow.
Let me explain.
Ambulances, whatever.
Yeah, let me explain something. I used to be a funeral director.
Right.
I've been in the biggest corners cooler in the state of Kentucky. I've been in Lexington's and I've been in Louisville's. The one in Louisville probably holds maybe 12, maybe more.
I've been there.
But it's not what you're thinking. The other part is just, you know, you say, what if we grow?
That's not a good thing, I think.
No, that's not.
I know what you're saying.
I understand what
That's
you're
happening.
I understand what you're saying is, but
You're right.
if we have a mass casualty type of situation in Scott County, we have, because of District 9 has a portable morgue, and it's sitting right here in Scott County.
Okay.
So, and actually it's across the hallway from where we're talking about putting this morgue at the hospital. It's actually at the hospital.
And that would have been true a year ago,
That's-
2 years ago.
And if we're talking about a super casualty type of situation where we have a plane crash, you know, passenger plane crash from Stanford Field crash here or something, there's going to be more resources here than you're going to be able to shake a stick at, and that's going to happen everywhere. And the amount of people that it will ever be in that cooler from strictly from the coroner's office is probably going to be no more than that. That I've seen that happen, but he's normally not going to hold a body very long anyway. Once the autopsy's done, and his report's done, he can release the body to another funeral home and they come get it. I know the statement's been made about, well, what if the hospital using it? Well, the hospital can use it. I mean, but if he brings in someone that is under an investigation or something like that, you know, you can roll people out. I mean, right now the hospital's leaving them in their beds until the funeral home arrives, and that could be hours later. I mean, as a funeral director, I drove to Columbus, Ohio after being notified that somebody's died. That's a 5-hour drive up there. They were still laying right there in their bed. So, I mean, it's not a situation where you go straight to the cooler and you stay there until somebody shows or whatever. I think a 3-body cooler is as big as Scott County will ever need. If it's not, there's services within this county that has coolers. I mean, and I'm saying funeral homes, not. I mean, Buchanan's has the exact one that we're purchasing or have purchased. They have the exact same one. So there's 3 more that if Lonnie gets in a situation where he's got a major accident, that he's got six that he's holding, then I'm sure we can reach out to other people in the county and utilize their space as well, so. The size of the cooler has never played into, something I've ever thought, I mean, because.
And we do have one that we're holding right now for identification. And, you know, Buchanan's been very, very helpful with us. They've taken care of us.
But
So, I
it's-
mean, it does happen. If we have another
Oh,
one,
yeah.
we would have to, you know.
But it's not in a cooler, is it?
Yes, yes,
You were talking about the one from Vegas?
yes,
Well, it's,
yes, yes,
Yeah, I know.
it's still there.
yeah, I know the circumstance.
Individual's still there, yes.
But, that's where I'm at.
Well, I just had to ask. 'cause
Yeah, I understand that.
No experience with that.
Oh, I understand,
what
I
you're here
understand
for.
that.
I just
And
have,
that's, I don't have a problem answering every question there is.
yeah,
Uh,
I got a couple more questions.
What's that?
During the process of construction, are they going to go through and look for black mold? That is an older part of the hospital. I know-
Everything will be to specs.
Inspected, okay.
That's the one reason, because I stood right there with the hospital, and Jerry was there, and we were talking about the tile flooring. And we were wanting to just take up the wood that was down there and leave the tile flooring, but that's the old part of the hospital that has asbestos flooring, floor tiles, and because they've been nailed through, screwed through, they would not allow us to do that because they've been disturbed, I guess is the word. So that's why they have to, you know, we've, in our quote, has asbestos removal, so, and along with that, it'll be
Okay.
taken care of.
Now, the steep grade a little bit of the back where we bring the bodies in, now, are we gonna be responsible for like snow removal on that, or?
They
the
have a
hospital?
they have a company that.
Okay,
That
just checking.
removes snow on all the sidewalks,
Okay,
and actually, you know,
okay, just making sure, because that's, you get a heavy individual, that'd be a slippery slope going down in there, so we'll make sure it's safe enough for.
Really, all you got the sidewalk here.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I think that's, we talked about that the other day.
yeah, man, as long as we get that worked out, guys, you know, it's,
Well, I'm concerned about that too.
Sure.
I suspect we might actually have to build another little concrete walkway big enough to back your vehicle up to it.
whatever
Or
you guys see
or
fit. I
suggested
mean,
by the maintenance man, maybe they could gravel it or something. But, I mean, otherwise,
Well,
we're gonna have to park out in the road, put it on a gurney.
well, they're gonna be on a gurney anyway, but
Yeah.
let me,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard the grumblings of, you know, a drive-in, you know, where you can pull your car inside, shut the door and do all that other stuff. Never in my days of working in that business have I ever pulled into any funeral home, any medical, place, I guess, the coroners, the Jefferson County coroner, or the Lexington, or Indianapolis, or any place else, have I ever pulled inside someplace. It's always been, I mean, in Louisville, you know, people wouldn't even know where this building is. You wouldn't even know that that's what it is. You pull in the parking lot, you pull in a parking space just like you're at Walmart, you open the back, you pull your cot out, and you wheel across the parking lot to the door. I mean,
I don't see that as a game changer.
No, I mean,
I think
but-
it's
but I'm
something
just-
we might wanna look at to.
Yeah, I just
But
want
I'm
to
As
ask,
we go out there to
Nice
give you a
to
better.
you know, who's gonna take care of the ice and snow? I mean, do I need to
They
go down
take-
there and do it? Okay,
they have a
that's what I was
contract, and
asking on that there.
I
I
mean,
mean,
And
that's,
there ain't nothing says we can't buy you a bucket of salt or something, I mean, but.
They have a
Hopefully.
I mean,
Hope so,
I'm just
yeah.
talking out loud
okay,
here.
They have a contract with, actually, I'll just tell you, they have a contract with my son to scrape the snow, the sidewalks.
Okay.
They get a half inch of snow, it's being salted. So, that's a sidewalk at the hospital, so it's gonna be treated, so.
okay. Now, the,
Go-
oops,
go-
I'm sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, you're good.
The body pickups, now we've discussed that. If you would like us to do it ourselves, I mean, I could put another budget together for next year, if that's what you, I mean,
I know you and I have talked about this too, and
Yes.
and EMS and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it a little bit. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'll put this is me, one commissioner out of 3, but I'm telling you right now that I I want that process to stay like it is. That process has been in place, and I don't want to be that old fogey that says, well, that's the way it's always been, but there's never been a problem in the umpteen years that we've been doing this with a coroner and EMS, a coroner and a funeral home, or a EMS with a funeral home. We've never had an issue whatsoever. I've been on those scenes. I've seen EMS roll up because they get a 911 call. The person's deceased. If it's a coroner call, and it's going to be an extended period of time before that body is removed from that scene. Usually the coroner will walk over to the EMS, or the EMS will come to the coroner and go, hey, how long are you going to be? And they go, hey, go ahead and leave, and we'll call you in. Sure. We'll call you to come back. I do not want to see that situation change, and I say that in multiple ways. It's disrespectful, again, as a funeral director, to leave a body in a house, everybody leave, and that family member sitting there waiting for somebody else to come to remove the body. Because, you know, they're not always, you know, in a great situation, I guess I should say. So in turn, I don't know what changed to where it's now an issue, but in my opinion, and my fight is going to be that EMS will continue to remove bodies for the coroner, and if for some reason that's an extended period of time and they're not available when you're ready for them to, you know, that body to be removed, then we'll play devil's advocate at that time.
We don't mind waiting.
But the other part of that is, and it has nothing to do with the coroner, and it has a lot to do with the EMS, is that if it's a non-coroner call and it's natural causes, and that EMS is already on the scene, and they've called the hospital and determined this person is deceased, and right now they're transporting that body to the funeral home of the family's request.
Sure.
There's no reason why that can't continue. I mean, I don't know why all of a sudden.
So I'm just trying to give you suggestions. I don't want to cause no trouble, but we want to work with everybody. You know?
You're not, and there's no reason why that should ever have been a discussion, in my opinion.
So this came up the first year, and we conversed a little bit. You know, that's the last thing we want is somebody not having you guys help at the scene of
They've been doing
whatever
really
natural,
good.
and we don't care. My understanding is I think what Shannon was looking at was the possibility of getting you guys your own vehicle and everything, you could do your own and all that stuff. And it doesn't matter to me a whole bunch which way we go, as long as we make sure it's done. So I'm gonna agree with everything Mike said, unless you two can come up with some agreement. But without that, I think we need to continue as is.
Yes, I mean, I don't see a problem, but you know, if it changes and you guys do, I mean, I would like a vehicle that's respectable to the person.
Agree with that.
You know, where it looks respectable to pull up and put them in, and, you know, it's not a 4x4 truck that we have to pick them up overhead and put them in. I mean, that's something that we just can't do. I mean, that's the injuries.
And I told Shannon, even if you go that way, if you guys call for help, I want them there for you regardless.
Sure.
So I don't want to ever see, and apparently there's been once or twice where there's been a little confusion on this, and we're kind of
We
beyond
worked
that
it out.
now.
I mean, we worked it out, but, you know, me and John, we try our best to get there as soon as we can. We don't want to hold the EMS up.
Well, I mean, that maybe we
you know.
didn't show up as soon as we should have or something, and
It's-
regardless, that's in the past.
It's okay. I mean, it's
I
just,
want always to have somebody there for you.
I've been in law enforcement for almost 30 years, so I don't want to hold nothing.
I just don't want, what I don't want is if it is a coroner's call, or even if it's not a coroner's call, I don't want to see EMS leave that scene without that deceased body.
Sure.
Because that is traumatic enough for a death in a family, and then all of a sudden you're going to drive away and wait for the a funeral home to get up out of bed in the middle of the night or whatever, or make arrangements to get there, and it's not gonna be,
Yeah.
they're not coming with lights and sirens on, so I mean, it could be sometime, and that's not fair to the family.
And more than likely, the ambulance is gonna be there even before you.
That's,
Oh, sure.
So I'm with you on that. I don't, whatever we do, we gotta get on top
Bring
of
to a
it.
vote, or.
If you guys
No,
come
I
up
think
with
it's-
something different.
I don't think it needs to be something
guys.
to vote, I think we just need to make sure that EMS is clear on what this board
It
is
just
saying.
keeps coming up.
Oh, I know it.
In my conversation,
I'm ready to just
in
say-
my conversation with Shannon, he's letting me know that this won't happen. He would like to maybe get you guys a vehicle and work around this. I've talked to him, he said they will be there for you if needed.
Well, but here's what I'm hearing, is that the vehicle he's wanting to give them is a 4x4 pickup truck with a camper shell on it. And I'm telling you right now, if he rolls up with my family member, I'm gonna be upset.
And like I said, I want, whatever that is, you guys,
Appropriate,
I
yeah.
think you guys do do a lot of talking.
You know, it's,
So,
well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's you guys that, you know,
And
you
maybe
tell
we
us
should
what you'd
get you
like to
something,
have.
maybe.
I mean, you
I
know.
think you need a vehicle regardless.
You know, I've talked to funeral directors, and they said, you know, a nice SUV, like a van would be, a caravan would be nice, it's low to the ground. You know, you don't have to make it look horrible when you pick them up and load the van. I mean, you want the person to go in and, you know, with dignity, and you don't want the family members to have any stress. Like Mr. Jones said, you don't want the family to have any stress at all. You know, and that's my concern. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and that's my whole concern here is, as long as we work together, man, that's all I want to do is work together with everybody and transition this so we can get a foundation for the coroner's office, so, you know, the next coroner doesn't have to deal with these situations.
Well, I'm with everything he said, I haven't really changed at all, but if you guys can work out something, come back to us.
Everything seems like more than fine,
I
yeah.
mean,
I just think that, just like you said, John, EMS is already gonna be there. Why would they leave? And so in turn, and let me, again, I'm not saying what your job is, but, if it's an unattended death, they don't always have to have a autopsy or whatever. They could be somebody that is on hospice and nobody was there, and it's an unattended death. You will get a call from EMS saying, hey, we've came up 911 to this resident, and that person is deceased, and it looks like natural causes. They're a cancer patient, they're this patient, that patient. You don't, at that point, you could release the body right there to the family, and the family can say, hey, we're gonna take it to XYZ funeral home. So you don't even go to the scene. So in turn, I mean, it's a phone call. I mean, just like they make phone calls to the hospital, you know, saying, hey, this person, whatever, and the doctor at the hospital will determine what they're gonna do. So in turn, I think this has gotten blowed out of proportion. I think that we have created a monster that is not there. And if whatever worked in the past has worked, to me, it's gonna continue to work in the future. So that's my.
especially January 1, that was a little frightening, having
Yeah.
somebody totally new
I
in.
think all three of us are agreeing with that.
So, right now, to me, it sounds like these two guys as well, EMS gonna continue to do what they're doing, and if there's a hiccup there, then we'll deal with that on the other side.
If you guys need vehicles or something, that's something, if you and him got some other deal worked out, come to us, but
No, I wanna go through the commissioners, because
Well,
any money
if you need a
spent or anything,
vehicle
you
or-
know, it's,
Well,
you
if
know.
it's a pickup truck, then you can tell me it's down.
I haven't seen the vehicle.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna go back to the hospital. For me, I want a contract, and I hope that don't, well, I know it'll slow things up a little bit. But I'd like to have something written in stone a little bit more. So I
Like I
don't know,
said,
you guys, whatever you think, we'll move however you want to, but I think it would at least, I think the contract's gonna slow us up probably 2 weeks to a month.
Well, knowing how
I think I need-
slow that they worked,
Well, they're probably talking about lawyers from
oh
Clark
yeah,
County or Louisville.
it's, no. Those lawyers, they're not from Louisville, they're from,
As long as we have a foundation, I'm not worried about it, because, you know, Mr. Buchanan's been great. You know, he's worked with us, and he's been
Well,
very good.
can we, tomorrow's a commissioners, or a council meeting, can we go tomorrow to the council and ask them to fund it? And that will get that stipulation away from, hey, we're that step down the road and we don't have to wait 30 days for them to meet again.
You're on at 9:30.
Yeah, I know it. So anyway, I'd like to do that, and then I will get with the CEO out there and see if I'll get with Bob too and see what Bob's talking about writing up.
Well, he was okay with the MOU.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want you to get misunderstanding.
Because I cleared it with him
But after we talked with a little, yeah, he said he did. And after we talked a little bit though, I started asking questions that we talked about in here, is like, if something happens, what happened? We're out of luck if they go out of business or whatever.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that.
Yeah, and that was always my thought, is if we had a capital project at the John Jones building, that at that point, and we're moving multiple departments out there or something, at that point, we could say, hey, let's go ahead and create a coroner's office out here and a morgue. And at that time, we could go back to the hospital and say, hey, we're gonna, vacate these 2 rooms and take our cooler and move it to the John Jones building, but that's in a capital project, and maybe we could fund that some other way, or grants, or.
I do think we need to know more about maintenance, more about utilities.
Well, as far as the utilities, I'm like Bob, we talked about it, I don't know how you break it out and say, well, we used X amount of electricity.
You couldn't, but they could just add on a user fee every
But they,
month.
to my knowledge and to the conversation I had, we talked about utilities, and it was kind of
And that's what he thought.
it was like hey, how do we do that? And we're just gonna be good, you're not gonna use enough electric to worry about. The other part, as far as maintenance, is as far as if we have anything going on, cooler wise or equipment wise, it would be on us.
I think so too.
And as far as cleaning the place, we'd probably have to get the lady that cleans the health department, maybe we can have her go over there and do the cleaning, or Josh or somebody from here. So anyway, I think most of the maintenance would happen out of the county.
Okay.
So, but we can,
It'd be our bill though.
yes, yeah, it'd be on us.
Me personally, I'd like to see it in our building.
See what?
I would rather see it in our building.
I would
Me
too,
personally.
I honestly would too, but,
well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you never know what you need to do in the future. And you don't know what the future holds. You don't ever know what that hospital's gonna do, and, you guys have got a lot of time in this, I realize that. I'm a little late to be coming to the party and saying, hey.
No, you're not.
But
I don't think that either.
If we could do it and it costs close to the same amount of money, I think we owe it to ourselves to check that out and to find out and make sure that we couldn't do it for the same amount of money. And if we could, then to put it in the John Jones building would be better for our future. I think.
Not having it in our own building, I actually do like, but just what research I've done, it's questionable how much money we're gonna spend, and it could be a lot more expensive than what little bit I've got. But there's people, we can argue all that back and forth. But like I told you last meeting, tonight I want it over with, one way or the other.
So what did you find out about the state inspector?
I've called him, Randy's called him, John's called him, and nobody's called us back yet.
But I did talk
He's
to
MIA.
Mr. Grimes, and he said, yeah, you're gonna have to the permits. I don't know how much they're gonna be. But he said, you're gonna have to have permits from the state health and state inspector, and then you gotta have local permits too. And we're just kicking this can down the road, and I just think we gotta get it over with.
What?
And I'm actually hating to even think about a contract, because I know that even makes it longer, but we gotta get it done. I'm sorry, Randy?
What are we talking about on price of permits? I mean,
Well, I don't
Should
know,
we not
that's
find
the
out?
problem, I don't
It's-
know.
Well, I will tell you this, because I've checked, and I'm being told because it's a hospital and they're under state codes and stuff, that we had to file for a state permit, you had to get an engineer to draw up the plans of what you were gonna do and submit it.
And that's where Brian
And
comes
that's,
into it.
and that's that was $4,500
Yeah.
for the engineer and for the permit. So,
And my understanding is they've already got that ready to go at the hospital. And if we do it again, we gotta do it at the John Jones building.
so, I just, have you, I guess, since you guys been doing all this legwork, I mean, do you have a estimate from somebody? I mean, I know you guys drew up something, I mean, do you have an estimate from somebody that says, from a contractor that
I
says?
saved this county about $6,000. That's what I was asking for last week. Was
How do you
just-
get $6,000?
I've had one contractor to look at it. We went in, I said, here's what we're looking at. And the numbers he come back with. We've been saving about $6,000 over where we're at right now.
I saw the drawing,
Okay.
I'm asking about somebody putting it on paper saying, this is my quote and I'm gonna stick to it.
No, I've spoke to him on the phone so far. What I was asking for last week is, everybody keeps saying nobody wants to bid the county's work, nobody wants to bid the county's work. In, less than 3 hours, I had 6 contractors ready to come out there and give me bids on it.
So they give you a bid?
No, you want to give me permission to let them in there this week. She was going to run ad last week.
Don't point your finger at me and say that I didn't let you in the building, you've got it.
No.
That's what you just
What I
said.
said is last week, you want to give me permission to do it.
First of all, you don't need permission,
Uh,
you don't need permission from the commissioners to get an estimate for anything. I mean, to my knowledge.
I feel like I do because you own the building.
Well, anyway,
The thing, he has a proposal of how much for one contractor. I didn't ask what that was.
yeah,
I do know that it was less than the 35. That's all I know. Because I didn't
Minus
want to
any
know.
permits, Mike, minus any permits.
Right, minus the permits. I didn't want to know any other bids. I didn't want to know the bid because if we're going to take this,
Yeah.
if we're going to take bids, I didn't want to know.
That's just simply something I drew up, Mike, is all that is, to kind of, I wanted to take everybody in at one time
But that's
and
why,
say, here's what we want.
that's why John don't have it in writing. He did have an amount, but it's not.
I saw what he had. I ain't got a beef there at all. I actually learned a lot of this because of John. But if I had to start all over again 6 months or a year ago, I might have looked at that a little harder. But it's just too late for it to me. It's just time. We gotta get this out of the way. The sooner we get you guys in office, the quicker. And, I'm ready to go. I mean, we can argue about it, but we need to move on.
That says 2x4s, and there's gonna be a little bit of change, because I said we should probably
changed it
use
to
steel studs
yeah.
to keep from having mold problems later.
Well,
That was just a nice setup, I thought would work better for us than the hospital. We're gonna go to the hospital if that's where you tell us to go.
Yes, you guys pull the trigger on it, we'll go.
I was
We're
just
not
trying
here
to
to
look
demand
for
that.
alternatives and
I understand
save money.
that, but like I said, I went down that road once and I'm not a contractor by any means, but actually, every time I always go out and ask somebody to give me a price on something, it's more than what I ever think it is.
And I
And
know
I
this,
just don't know how you're gonna do
Mike,
all that.
That's what I've done on and off
I
for 30 years.
understand
But
that.
I do
called my
understand
own
that
subcontractor.
from talking to Grimes, that even with the contractors, we have to have the engineers and then people
Yeah.
involved in it too. And it ain't something we can just go put up. We've got to have these people do it.
Yeah, it has to be
Whether that
state.
ought to be the way it is or not, that's the way
Oh, I know.
I've got it.
It's gotta be state code and,
So we've gotta add, I can guarantee you we're gonna add that 4,500 on top of it.
oh yeah.
And they're just gonna come in and give us the permission to do it. And
But
then,
for $4,500, John, we would end up with a better situation for the long haul. It would have been a better, you know, I don't know what the long-term plans for the building was. That's why I was just asking questions.
I mean, we don't wanna live in it, but let's just go down that rabbit hole for just a second. If that hospital closes, we gotta get our stuff out, it's gonna cost us more than $5,000.
Well, that's why I want a contractor. We ain't gonna have nothing to get out if we don't get a contract.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
if this other grant goes through that they're looking to put us a new one.
Well, I don't know.
First of all, I wanna stop you right there, Johnny, cause if people are going out here getting grants behind the commissioners, I'm not gonna say behind their backs, but if people are going out there researching grants and stuff without coming to this board first, I'm gonna be highly disappointed. Because this board right here is the only fiscal body in this county that can build a building or support a building. So if somebody's going out there and trying to get grant money for stuff for a building project, they better be coming through here first, because no one's given them the authority to do anything.
I don't know nothing about
I know,
that, Mike, I just know what was.
I know exactly what you're talking about,
Okay.
but the point of it is that this board is the one that authorizes grants and people to seek them in building projects, and if somebody's doing that without coming to this board,
I don't blame you a bit.
so that's a little
I
disheartening.
would like to ask you guys, just vote on tonight, and
I'm with you on
let's
that.
get the
Get it
foundation
over.
going, and so we can move forward. So you guys vote on it, whatever you decide, we'll move forward with it, but that's,
And we have voted on it, where I'm concerned, it's not a revote, it's just
Okay.
accept what we did in the
just
first
accept
place.
what we did, and that's
But
fine.
I would ask Mike to get this contract put together.
I'll reach out to
And
the
it doesn't have to be
CEO,
anything specific, it just needs to.
just to clarify that we get our equipment if something happens to the hospital.
Yeah, I couldn't hardly understand how we could lose the cooler myself, and Bob.
Well,
explained it
I
to
can
me
tell you
like
how,
it's a part of the
it's
property
real
rate.
estate, and it's a tangible piece of
Yes,
property
there you
that's
go.
attached to it.
If it gets attached, it belongs to the.
Yeah.
So if we get a contract, we can get it back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they have everyone I talk to says, hey, if down the road you wanna do something, the equipment's yours.
Yeah.
But that's those guys.
How much was it? How much was it?
The cooler, the cots, and everything else that's already been ordered and should have been here.
Not, they're getting them.
But
not
it was $9,000, just less than $10,000 for the cooler and.
Well, we'd be better off to leave it than to pay the laborers to repossess it, right?
It's not it's not that hard to move. It's-
No,
the
it
cooler's
actually
small.
holds together.
I'm saying, you know,
Yeah, it's pretty nice to move. It can be
Actually,
moved,
it
yeah.
comes in petition walls, you just bolt them together or snap them, they can snap
Yeah, we
together
could-
and everything's self-contained.
Or move a door, we can get it out.
Or you just take it out, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like you, it's time to get moving on it,
Yes,
and we can,
get
I know we
moving.
can, actually, I have learned a lot, you may not think I do, but I learned a lot because of you. But at this time, I just don't think it's gonna cost us more time than ever to move it out there, so I'm ready
Sounds
to.
good to me, guys.
And not being
What do you
an
guys wanna
attorney,
do?
I'm gonna interject about the contract. That would be a great idea to have that. I think I cautioned you guys at the last
Yes.
meeting because of State Board of Accounts, because
You-
it sets us up more like a leasing or a leaseor
Okay.
of the property, because once you either own or you lease property, it becomes public at that point. You have to have a relationship of a give and a take, some kind of financial thing, something going back and forth for it to be considered public property. And then I feel a lot more comfortable myself from a standpoint of State Board of Accounts audit, because I don't want you guys getting written up for something not being in place and we're putting tax dollars into physically another property that somebody could never give us back.
okay.
And that way we have, in exchange for, then we've got a relationship. They're kind of like your interlocal that you have with your other taxing units. So I would feel a lot better, so that would.
I'll
I
get
think
with
help
Bob and
a lot.
have him write up something and I'll get back out to the hospital.
Well, guys, I will make this offer. If for whatever reason the hospital won't do the contract and you decide against it, I'm a phone call away. I will call my contractors and I'll have you 6 bids out there in about 3 days.
That's-
Well, okay.
I don't see, I appreciate that, Johnny, I really do. Cause like I said, my first thought was to have it at John Jones and it just wouldn't,
Well,
I
and
couldn't
let me
get.
throw this out. Hang on just a
What
second. Let me
we've
throw
been
this out.
looking at is there, certain people's pushing very hard for us to start moving these
If we
bodies
did,
ourselves.
if we did bids, it had to go she had to ask for it in the newspaper.
Yeah, I asked her last week how long it would take to get that
So
done.
if they come to that, yeah.
But,
Well, I guess at this
I
point,
was looking for long-term, you know, where we would be better off if it's me and Lonnie having to do this by ourselves.
well, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be you, Lonnie, so.
I pray you're right.
Good deal.
You can take that to the bank.
Thank
So,
you, appreciate
I don't
it.
think, well, you may know, I don't think we need to revote, I think we just need to vote to accept what we did or
Move
not.
forward. Okay.
And,
I'm good with that.
I do worry about, you know, extra charges and all that kind of stuff, but I'm
Gentlemen, thank you for
I'm
your
for proceeding where we started.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and
All right.
if we can help you, just let me know.
Appreciate it,
Lonnie,
Lonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you, but
You
if
need
you guys
more
want to do
help,
anything
but-
different out there on vehicles, I hope you and Shannon can get together.
Except for the pickup.
Yes. We'd like to borrow that pickup this weekend, guys, if that'd be possible. We've got training above Indianapolis, and they're talking 6 inches of snow.
That's, I mean, that's pretty.
I mean, you can call him or-
Yeah, that's, as long as it's insured.
I said, just call him, see if he's got one available.
Between you and Shannon, I think. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that.
I haven't seen, I'm not sure which vehicle it is, but as long as it's
We
safe to
don't
get
care.
you there and
We-
back.
and if your vehicle breaks down on the way up, you get paid the tow bill.
I suppose you guys, and you might probably already know this, but even if you have to drive your own, there's a mileage fee.
Yeah, it's not that, just,
Yeah,
Weather's gonna be bad.
yeah.
I'm okay if you use one of their vehicles.
Actually,
Got one.
From what I saw, north of Columbus, it actually, it's .09, or it's less than an inch of snow. The band's right through here,
Well, that's even better. I'll drive my truck to Indy then.
so, but anyway, that's all we got. I guess, if we don't have anything else, that
Motion
closes I need a motion to close this part of the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
adjourned.
I'll make it unanimous, so we're closed. All right.
Thank you for your help, believe it or not, like I said.